What's going on, guys? So it's the first time I've been back to make a video in a long time. Doing a little bit of Siege here. We've been in a pretty casual guild. I just wanted to join something that would give me the access to, like, daily stuff, weekly stuff. But use a lot of different teams, a lot of teams that I've used before, a lot of, just fun random teams, because we're not taking it too seriously. We're in a like a mid G1, like low G2 range guild. So just testing out a bunch of different things, having some fun with it. If you guys have any questions about the runes or anything like that, if they're not shown in the video, you can just post a comment and I'd be happy to send them to you. I'll just put them like in Imager post or something like that, whatever it ends up being. But yeah, so overall, I'll just explain why I use certain teams. So this team is a little risky into the Skogul because of Skogul Violent procs. There's a lot of opportunity for that Raoq to actually kill me, which is why I chose to skill 1 here instead of skill 2. Skill 2 has random targeting, so there's a chance I hit the Skogul, give him his cooldowns back. The only reason it's risky is because he can actually lower down the Isillen enough where Isillen does die in a situation like this. This is a team I really like to use into 2 specific things. 1, they have no cleanse, so even though they have heal, it's very minor from the Vigor. And 2, they have no immunity, right? So there's no strong way for the Malite to get stopped. Like as you can see here, like it did drop quite a bit of HP. So I'm on the lower side, but we've got so many dots up that it's pretty safe in most cases. Good minus wind here is probably the best way, since Skogul is like the main threat towards the Isillen. The second thing to go along with that is that because this team had no light unit, nothing was guaranteed to target the Isillen, right? So the Vigor will target randomly, but because Malite is wind, it's very likely that Malite does hit, right? He's not going to glance and miss his skill 2. With the Khmun will always target for the wind unit as long as there's no defense break, and then Skogul just hits everyone, so it doesn't really make a difference between those 2. I was kind of in a rush when I recorded this, so I kind of just jump ahead. So same defense, slightly different team. So the thought process for this side was, because I have the Racuni, I have a pretty good chance of stopping myself from getting killed by the Vigor, as well as putting him in stance. So I actually turned out to be faster than this guy, so I ended up just killing Skogul in turn 1. Surprisingly, Skogul was the lowest HP. I thought it would be a little bit higher, so it made it a lot easier. But the concept behind this was that Malite protects from the Vigor by provoking it, and then you just use this to kill through the shields. This Carcano skill 1 ignores all damage reduction effects, so it ignores invincibility, it ignores shields and stuff like that. Yeah, this was pretty straightforward. Bruiser build for my Carcano, it's like 30k HP, I think. Violent with crit rate. I don't actually have crit damage on it, but I have high attack, so it's like plus 1k attack-ish. This build is very defensive, so I actually went with a minus water artifact because I was afraid of dying to the Vigor if I got unlucky. Like if he first turn skill 3'd me and then violent proc skill 1'd, then there was a chance that, if Skogul goes, then I'm bricked. It's over. He kills me. But in this situation, it worked out pretty well. A good habit to get into, I don't know if you guys saw that right there, but I always share to my guild, just because even if you don't use the same team, you get a better understanding of how things can work, or even if you lose, sometimes you can get a better understanding of why things went wrong, or how to avoid it in the future. So being able to share with your guildies is definitely something that's worth doing, especially if you and your guildies want to improve over time. All right, so we got a slightly different team this time. Similar concept. So this one I picked a little bit more healing just because they do have the double Raoq setup. The reason I chose Elucia specifically here is because I feel like Elucia skill 3 has a good opportunity to control the Harmonia, so I can just push down the Dark Skogul. I don't actually remember what its name is. I think it's like Vidor or something, but I don't want to be wrong, so I'm not 100% sure here. Because both of them have thrown their rocks, I actually don't feel comfortable hitting either of them, so I just go after the Harmonia here. She swaps for skill 3. We do move in front of her for the healing, which is nice. That attack bar deny from the violent proc was actually kind of bad. If I didn't get the shield from Khmun, there was a little bit of risk in where I was going here. But since neither of them are up in turn rotations, because I didn't hit them while the Raoq was up, I felt pretty comfortable just slowly chipping them down. As you can see here, I am getting resisted a lot. That's probably because I didn't put very much accuracy on my I want to say Ophelia, but it's not Ophelia, it's Elucia. And the reason I did that was because I felt like it was more important for me to have the attack for the healing. But in hindsight, against a team like this, I probably should have focused a little bit more accuracy, maybe get to the 50-60 range instead of being in the low 30s. So basically, I just cycle the skill 3 because it's irresistible, and then just slowly chip them down. Destroy wasn't actually that necessary on this team. I have it on my Khmun just out of habit. Overall, I would say you don't need it just because the only healer is the Harmonia, and in this case, I am actually targeting her first. So I probably could have focused on going like extra stats. I could have went like Revenge. I could have went a shield set for my team. I could have went Energy for more stats, but pretty straightforward. I'll just skip ahead because there's nothing that's important at this fight. Easily just chip them down. I did mostly fight 4-star teams in this video, so you will see a lot of 4-star teams. I think there's one 5-star team I hit just because we needed to take the tower, but otherwise I tried to showcase like as many interesting and fun units as I like to use or I have. Doesn't always work out, but you know, we can get there sometimes. This team specifically, I want to point out, I actually made a lot of really big mistakes. I haven't played Siege in forever, so remembering like how much I can do as well as like where I can greed and where I should play safe is something I need to remember again for sure. I definitely could have lost this fight if I had not. I want to say outruined the person. I think that I actually significantly outruined this person, and that's the only reason I won, because I played it so badly that I should have lost. I greeted 2 different things in a team where you need to snowball and get ahead. This team up here, I chose to actually skill 2, I think, the LuiMei, but I should have just taken the guaranteed kill on the Carcano. And here I had another opportunity to do the same thing, and I wanted to greed to see if I could skill 1 into a double proc to get the extra turn. If he had procced there, I think I would have potentially lost, because it would have pushed the attack bar on my Garo, but then I still would have had the defense break, and LuiMei would have moved in front of me, so she could have killed me right there. While I do have a pretty good chance with Raoq and Verde, it's not really worth taking an unnecessary risk like that. For this team, I was a little confused. I didn't really see too much threat on the team. Like, Miyhang is theoretically scary if the defense break comes up, but at the same time, if I force the defense break onto a wind unit, I feel like it's very unlikely that the Miyhang will ever get a chance to kill me. So the focus here was to go Malite or any wind unit. I probably could have used Windy, to be honest, and it would have been just fine in this team. I think using Windy here probably provides more damage than the Malite because he does have a lot of healing. So having Destroy would be nice. Windy on Destroy Revenge with anything as the last set, and then using Lulu and Vigor should easily be enough to take down this team. I went for the initially I went for the Miyhang first, but I think I ended up swapping over towards the Kaki because Kaki felt like the only thing that could even potentially kill my team. As long as I have Destroy, I'm not really afraid of Miyhang or Molly, so I ended up just going for him. He was on the squishier side too, so I noticed that after the first rotation when he attacked in the Revenge. So you can see the Revenge damage here when he attacks. Well, I guess when there's no shield, you could see it. But the skill 3 does land with defense break, and it's pretty easy to kill from here. Yeah, so if you go against a lot of these like double sustain comps, and you're able to kill the threat immediately, Destroy is really easy for chipping down the last units. Molly doesn't glance for herself anymore, so it's actually not too hard to 1v1 kill a Molly with Destroy in the end. So it was a bit of a toss-up what I wanted to do with this team. I wanted to pick something with a leader skill, so I really wanted to pick the Ludo because I thought it was fun. But then I realized, oh, Ludo has no leader skill, so I ended up swapping the team up. There were a couple different things I wanted to use here. So initially I wanted to go with the Chacha and the Kaki, but I ended up going with double dots instead. So I went with the Fire Grim Reaper. I can never remember his name either. Fire Grim Reaper and Baretta. I don't know if Baretta was the right choice here. I feel like my Baretta ended up not doing a lot. The dots were okay, but I think that using Gina was too risky just because they did have an Eshir, so I was afraid of losing my Gina early on first turn. So I set up my Chacha to tank everything, right? Chacha's going to tank the Eshir, Chacha's going to tank the Fuuki in this situation, and I'm just going to skip ahead because it's just me bruning Baretta and Sath. There we go, Sath, that's what it was. So Violent and then Despair. I put Despair on Sath. Not like it really mattered in the long term. Between the two, it doesn't really make a difference. But the point here was Chacha stays alive for hopefully as long as possible, and then I just spam dots. So I went for the reset here. Not that it really mattered, but I really wanted the dot on onto the Fuuki more than I wanted onto anyone else, just because Fuuki is like the only main threat here. Has the defense break. I ended up missing the skill 3, so I didn't do any reduced damage to him, but I'm pretty well protected here. Each dot does break through the Khmun shield. It's quite a bit of damage, and then the stun there was extra. Fuuki loses HP on his own turn anyways. So I felt like that plus dots was a really good way to just kind of like end him as fast as possible. I do like using teams like this with like Sath plus a dot, but in most cases I'll use either the Dark Grim Reaper or I'll use Gina, just because they rotate dots way faster. So I'll use Thrain or Gina instead of Baretta, but you know, I thought it would be fun to use something I haven't used in forever. I don't even use Baretta in my TOA anymore, but I do miss him. He's a good unit. So this is a team that I've used simply because I had all of these units ruined for defense for a long time. I really like using this team. I think it's fun. It's not always the most reliable, but it's definitely on the more fun side to watch, like constant turn rotation. And then if I do manage to get the stuns here early enough, I'm able to set them to 2 turns because of the Dark Dryad. So that resistance, I was saved because it was already stunned, but I didn't get the pushback. Back there is nice. So not being able to keep the Skogul on 2-turn stun is okay. End up just focusing him down anyways. Things to note, my Robo here is built on damage, not on really high accuracy, so I did miss almost everything there. Saved a little bit by the LuiMei. So LuiMei is a bruiser build. This is a violent crit rate build with like 30 or 40 accuracy. And then the Dark Dryad is max accuracy on Despair. The reason I like the crit rate over like being like tankier is that around the 35k HP mark, I feel like you just go for more damage. It makes it easier to kill the enemy, and there's going to be more consistency in having one of them dead really early versus just trying to constantly CC them. Yeah, she gets a ton of turns. Here's the pushback. Yeah, the damage comes out decently. Even if you don't get a defense break, because of how much turn rotation she gets, she ends up dealing a decent amount. And then you get a decent amount of damage from the WindRobo just for being on additionals. All right, so this is the one team that I fought that was a 5-star team. I didn't really want to cook anything super complex. I was really lazy. We needed to take the tower because the siege was ending, so I just Tiana cleaved it. In hindsight, I don't think that using Cheongpung was the best idea, but it was the fastest choice. I think in most situations, I would probably just try to either Lucian this with the Cheongpung, so Cheongpung Lucian with Bastet or something, or I would probably use Poseidon. I used the Cheongpung because I was worried that my Poseidon wouldn't one-shot on turn 1. So I felt like I had a better chance if I used Cheongpung, and I got 1 pushback on the Ophelia to move in front of her. I ended up also just swapping leads too. I wanted the extra damage. I was pretty confident that I would outspeed the guy and be able to lap him if I got 1 pushback. If we were playing in a higher tier, I would never take this team, but I felt like it was okay to do this, mainly because of the rune gap. I missed the defense break, which is bad, but I got lucky here, and I think I got triple pushback. I got triple pushback and the despair stun. So all I needed was 2. If I hit 2, it would have been enough. But I hit everything because the game decided it was going to be nice to me. So very simple, straightforward. Okay, this is a team that I've been seeing around. A lot of people have been asking questions about this. They've been seeing Miyhang, Cichlid, and either Kaki or this light Asura or an Eshir or something like this. A lot of people are asking, you know, what should I use as a counter for this? I'll probably make a video later when I can ask someone to build it so I can test against. I don't actually have a Kaki, but I do have all the other units. Logically, the things that make the most sense to me would be to use either... Okay, so there's two ways that I would tank it. I would either tank out the Kaki because it's the defense break, or I would focus on tanking out the Cichlid because it's the secondary defense break. I'm a big fan of using Chacha. I will always be a big fan of using Chacha to tank Kinky. The skill 3 is incredibly good. The skill 1 to revenge heal plus shield yourself is really good. The other option would be to use most likely double wind plus water. So that would be your like windy Malite and a Lulu or something, or like you could use a windy Delphoid, windy Triana and a Lulu, or you could use a really high defense Tetra, for example. You know, there's a lot of options there that you can use to tank the units out, but what I like to use most is windy into Kinky is really good, because if you need the shield, you just attack the Kinky, and then when he revenges you, you get the shield. I really like using Chacha because Chacha tanks light units incredibly well. It gives you a lot of sustain, as well as you can actually steal his attack stat if you do land the skill 3. And I think the last one I really like to use is, I'm a really big fan of Malite. I think Malite's really good just because the revenge damage, the revenge chip damage is really good when he's in stone form. But also because generally you're not going to see super high resistance on these units, right? In a team like Miyhang, Cichlid, and Kinky, it's not very likely to be a team that's built around 100 resistance. It is very like offensive focused. So in my eyes, when I think of that Kinky build, it's probably low res. It's probably really high attack with high accuracy, somewhere in like the 60s range, because they need to kill a unit early on, right? They don't need to out sustain you. That's not exactly the strat there. So this one is super straightforward, just Lucian it. But I do end up fighting the team again here and using a completely different team. So this is the team that I thought would be the most like straightforward. I thought this team would be super easy and have no struggles killing the enemy. I ended up playing it wrong, but I also feel like I ruined it incorrectly. So my Miho, when I ruined it, I gave it really low crit rate. Go ahead here. Oh, I missed it. So I ended up giving her 38 crit, and the reason I did this is because when the enemy crits you, you're guaranteed to crit on skill 1. What I didn't think about was the fact that Tetra Shield is actually pretty strong, and I probably should have given Miho like maybe the 75 crit rate, so it would have just been easier to kill through. Ayunu, I ended up just building on YOLO damage. It was kind of a whatever thing. Vampire, I think I went Vampire Will. And then Lulu, I ended up just going the standard build. Okay, so when I said I misplayed, I think the most important thing that I should have done is target the Cichlid, because especially after the Azura dies. So I don't actually know what the Azura does. I had a brief look at it in terms of its like kit, and it didn't seem that scary, but because I wasn't super confident or sure of like how it worked, I did end up targeting it like fairly early on. So because its HP is basically dead here, I was like, I'm just gonna kill it right now, right? Tick through it. Oh, there's my alarm to wake up. So what I should have done here is killed the Cichlid. Cichlid defense break and the cooldown reset means that you can kill my Ayunu, which it may or may not have done. Sag. But end up winning anyways because Miho's pretty good in this. Miho plus Lulu, like very consistent. And you know that this guy's building his team for damage, right? You can see the constant crits from all units. But again, right here is where I show like, this is why I should have built crit rate on Miho, right? Like I miss a lot of crits on the skill. Like I missed crit there where I probably could have killed. Missed crit again. Like she doesn't chip me for very much because I still have like an okay HP pool, but it would have been easier had I done that properly. The immunity for no defense break, no resets. Land 1 crit, not 2. Defense break comes in. I didn't go for the cleanse because I really wanted the targeting to go in there, but then I realized the glance came up, so I was like, ooh, I should probably do this anyways. Yeah, all these situations that I could have avoided by just, you know, giving myself the right stat. A little bit of crit rate would have been very easy. Would have been very easy. But overall, simple first siege. If you guys have any questions, again, like I said, about the runes of any of the teams, let me know and I can share them in imagery links below. As well as if you guys have any teams you're struggling with, I can try to help you theorycraft some stuff for that. We were talking about it on stream the other day. One that people were talking about was, I think it was Tessa, Savannah, and I have to go back and look at it. It was double fire and a wind unit, but we were crafting some ideas for that, and it felt really good. It felt really good to think about the way on how to fight things again. But yeah, this is a bit of a shaky first video, so I hope you guys enjoyed this. I will be back with a siege video, or not a siege video, a RTA video with Dark Ezio soon. Been working on cooking that up since a lot of you guys wanted to see it. So I hope to see you then, and have a wonderful day.